I want to take this time to expose and reveal Jim Rogers. And he's one of these people who is kind of a perma gold bull and always a U.S. bear in terms of equities and bonds. You gotta get out of the U.S. dollar, invest in emerging economies, move into places like Singapore like me, keep stacking for gold. I'm gonna keep stacking and hope I'm smart enough to buy more. Well, he keeps promoting gold, but then he keeps telling you it's gonna fall. So this kind of tells you that he's kind of like a bipolar. He really doesn't know how to make up his mind, as a matter of fact. He is not a very reliable person. He tells people to buy gold for the long run, but then it seems like every year or so you keep telling people, oh, there's going to be a correction. Don't worry, keep stacking. Don't worry about pullbacks. I don't know how it's going to fall, but it's going to fall. And I'm going to do that so that I take credibility that it fell, but to what price, Rogers? What price? Of course you don't want to tell what price. Because if it's $1,000 an ounce, there's a very good chance that you're going to be wrong. Because there's a very high probability that it's going to go lower than that pretty soon. And in addition, if you say something like $300 an ounce, it's going to kill your gold and silver establishment. Of course you don't want to give really a price. You don't know how gold is going to fall. You want people to be kind of misled, kind of have their minds danced around, but yet continue to stack no matter what. So let's see what this guy has to say. Anyway, he's being promoted by Fox Business. These gold bull maniacs, they're being promoted by the mainstream media, people. This isn't like some secret information just a very tiny portion of the population knows. You have lots of sheep chasing for this bull crap. Now let's watch and see what's going on.
It will not make a normal bottom. The anomaly in the correction will be how far it goes and where it goes. I don't know.
Okay, so anyway, he doesn't know where it's going to go, but he's going to buy it for the long run. And like I mentioned before, I want to ask him a question. How come you haven't made this prediction 2 years ago? Should a person like you, should you have more knowledge and analysis to know where gold is going to go? Isn't it kind of surprising to see that how so many people followed you and they have been underwater and in some cases slaughtered financially? But you just want to continue to promote this no matter what. So let's just take a look where she was right here. Oh yeah, it went up 12 in a row. Well, that tells you that's pretty a good long period for commodities, I gotta tell you. I mean, has there ever been a time where commodities have gone like 20 years in history of this country? It's been a very, very long time. I don't think that's ever happened, at least in the last 80 to 90 years. But of course, you talk about, oh, it's entitled for a 50% correction. Look, A 50% correction shows that it's really in a bear market. If it corrects more than 35%, it is really in a bear market. I think a lot of investment advisors or any investor should know that. Now, you talk about, oh, it made a 50% correction in the 70s. Let me tell you something. Back then, we were having a crash in a lot of other things. We were having a crash in a lot of other commodities. We were having a crash in the stock market. But this time is different, sir. I mean, we had a 30% correction in 2008. But back then, a lot of things else was crashing. But this is opposite. Oil hasn't even crashed. Dow Jones, a lot of other indexes haven't crashed as well. So just say that it's a crash and not knowing why, the reason it happened, and he's not even telling you why. Oh, it's just a normal healthy correction without even giving you reasoning, without even comparing what happened between the other 50% crashes or something. You're really not getting reliable information, people. Well, you see, that's their common excuse. That's their common excuse constantly. What they like to do is they like to continue to mention that, oh, okay, because of the monetization of the currency supply, we're going to see rising prices of gold. Look, people, an increase in money supply doesn't always have to lead to higher cost of living. We have seen QE3, we have seen QE4. Gasoline prices are in fact lower than where they were 365 days ago. Prices of a lot of foods have barely even changed. In fact, I feel like it has actually gone even cheaper, and they should get cheaper, because a lot of the food in the grocery store are not even being sold. So to continue to use it as your backup claim and expect as a different result, parroting the same thing over and over again, come on, people. If you walk along this road and you feel like it's going to get better, but there's a lot of signs telling you it's not going to get any better, I suspect you guys have a second thought. What I want to tell you, people, looking at his track record, it's not looking really pretty. And you usually shouldn't follow advice from these types of gurus, these salespeople who you don't even know exactly who they are. They could be frauds, scammers. Now, I want to transition to another individual. And this one I want to show you who isn't just one of those people who is constantly preaching about gold, that it's going to go higher, and it's going to be in a situation where the US dollar is going to crash. This is a guy who hasn't been so bullish on precious metals. He seems to be promoting a lot of equities. He seems to have different analysis that you normally might hear from Peter Schiff and Marc Faber, but a lot of his information is very flawed and misleading, and I think in many cases he's quite dangerous. But let's just hear what he has to say. His name is Doug Kass. Let's see if we can get the volume. Okay, what I want to tell a lot of people, first of all, a weakening economy doesn't necessarily have to correlate to a collapsing stock market. Because what you have to understand that in the year 2000, the economy didn't really sink, but the NASDAQ collapsed. When we had the early 1990s recession, we saw lots of unemployment. The stock market didn't collapse. So let me tell you something. A weakening economy doesn't necessarily have to correlate to a weakening stock market. In 1987, they crashed. The economy grew. So he's telling you that, okay, there's some signs that it's getting worse. But yet again, he's not telling you other sides as well. This is the other thing that you kind of have to really understand. Then he talks about the U.S. dollar, and as if the U.S. dollar index went up. Well, the U.S. dollar index is higher than it was 5 years ago, and the stock market is higher than it was 5 years ago. In fact, the U.S. dollar index went up during the 1990s, the stock market went higher. So don't correlate the U.S. dollar index with the stock market. You see how his information is very misleading, and you see how I just don't constantly criticize the whole gold bull manias or these so-called gurus in that bubble. I go way beyond that because I think people can really get screwed from analysts all over the spectrum. This is what you have to keep in mind. So could be making a high. So if it doesn't happen, he's not going to get a lot of criticism. Now, if he says that it doesn't happen, then we should all praise him. Well, he's not telling you will at a very high chance. He's not telling you where it's going to make a top, where it's going to make a bottom. So his analysis isn't very accurate. I can tell you this for sure. And I just want to know, what are you doing tweeting? Is this what you do? I mean, this is really a guy who claims that he has like 10,000 tweets. What do you do? Do you sit on your butt all day and tweet constantly? I mean, don't you have better things to do in your life? Seriously? I don't know what to tell you. But as far as I can say, I want to ask him a question. If the market is making new highs, where do you think it's going to be bullish? First of all, if you can argue that the Fed monetization is tapering down and the fact that it's a large contributor to the stock market gains, you can still claim that that is going to help boost up the stock market. Now, I personally don't believe that's the main reason why they're going up, but certainly that is still probably another clue. Now, let's take a look at the record. I want to look at Kass's. Let's look at 2011. Let's take a look at his track record. And usually, they're the kinds of people that please. Yeah, this is going to take a while, so all I can tell you people, if you believe that the Federal Reserve is going to continue to pump more dollars into the system, and that's why it's causing the equities to rise, then I think you're a person that you cannot believe this guy. But of course, that does support a lot of other things as well. Of course, that creates a favorable news to make the stock market go higher. Now, let's take a look at his predictions. Okay, so his inflation target was very low enough. Let's see here. His GDP targets are way off. I think his S&P targets were quite off as well. You can see here. Let me see if this is actually from him. Okay. So he's from the street. Another one of these mainstream publications. I don't know about the interest rates. I don't know what they did in 2011. But you can see here a lot of his predictions were quite off. Let's take a look at 2012. Let's see where he was right here. As you can see here, okay, so he predicted that it's going to trade around 1500. As far as I know, I think we were not around 1500. We're around 1600 now. So he's been quite off as well. But I can say that it looks like his track record isn't so bad compared to Peter Schiff. But there are a lot of things that he's quite off. Let me see if I can find some more. Okay, so here's how he says the U.S. stock market approaches all-time high in 2012. Well, first of all, this is kind of the prediction that a lot of people like Greg Mannarino and several others who are Paramount Gold bulls have been keep predicting. So you have predicted that they're making a situation where we're going to see a 2012 market top. Well, look at your interview now. This is from last month. And you can see how based on your track record, you're really a person that we can rely on. When I look at these guys, people, from whatever direction, from whatever group they come from, I can pretty much understand where I can go. And I can understand that the fact that with their track record, I know who to trust and I know who to rely on. Most importantly, what to get in. Okay, so let's take a look. He doesn't have number 4, number 5, number 6. Now, he was right about this one. Financial stocks are a leading market sector. Citigroup, along with Goldman Sachs, did very well. So he had some right predictions. Not everything that they say is completely garbage. But as you can see here, you can state how he was wrong. And that is probably the most important thing to be right or wrong about. So when I look at the stock market, people, I think it's clear to me that there's certainly a lot of opportunities ahead. And I don't even know how this network continues to promote these people. I mean, what exactly are you thinking? Do you really care about the average person sitting and watching this stuff? Or do you just care about your advertisements hedge fund managers, corporations. What the heck do you actually guys care about? And looking at this track record from CNBC, how in the world do you guys have all these viewers? My gosh, I think if anyone really had a brain that knew how to think, there's pretty good chance that this network, along with Bloomberg and several other of them, would probably have to just close and shut down. So, there you have it, people. Stay tuned. I will have more updates to come. Thank you.